Alright, let's try that. Welcome back, guys. So, just going to do this little video here on the parts and fluids and stuff like that needed for this mega service that we're talking about here. So I got it rigged up as it looks like about a 9-part series, 9 different maintenance items. And like I said, we're starting from the top with the engine oil, okay? So grab a pad of paper and a pen, or just take a look at the description here. I'm going to be listing all of these parts with where you can get them online, or if it's cheaper just to visit like a local retailer. Because some of the stuff like you know, these diff fluids, they're kind of tough to find online, like on Amazon or whatever, so you might want to shop around local. I'm from Ontario, so we got Canadian Tire. You know, they're a really good spot to pick up this stuff cheap. They got a lot of good synthetic oils, and I use them for lots of stuff. You know, try to shop Canadian where you can, right guys? So yeah, anyways, ecodiesel, so engine oil. New oil spec is the 540 Rotella T6. Okay, so 540 is what you need. It takes 10 liters. The engine oil, the engine takes 10 liters. And I picked that up at Canadian Tire. I've got a link on Amazon from Rotella. It's a little bit more pricey from them, but if you just wanted simplicity, you can just click the link and pick it up there. I'm using Ecogard oil filters. Okay, so I'm not using the Mopar. These filters are only $16 Canadian each. I've got a link in the description to where I picked them up from eBay years ago, a 12-pack. I paid just shy of $200 Canadian for 12 of them. So, you know, go ahead, pick that up. I've been using them pretty well the whole life of the truck. I've ran my oil straight through to 16,000 kilometers each time, and I've done a couple of oil samples now, and my oil is fine at 16,000. The filters work great, and you're going to save a ton of money. Okay, so that's what you're going to look after for the engine. Moving on underneath the truck here, rear differential. It's calling for 75/140. Okay, synthetic gear oil. I'm using a Lucas product. You guys can use whatever you'd like. Just you can use synthetic. I've got a link in there for some synthetic gear oil if you need to pick some up. Just remember, if you've got a limited slip differential, you will need to go to Chrysler and pick up the little bottle of LDS. Limited slip LSD, limited slip differential, not acid, but you know, the little bottle. You add it into the rear diff, and I'll cover that in the actual video. Okay. So go ahead, pick that up, and so it's going to take 2.2 liters in the rear diff. Okay, that's if you could completely drain the diff, which you can't. So probably 2 liters would cover you on the rear diff. Okay. Moving down, part 3. That's going to be the front diff. Okay, so I'm using Castrol for the front diff. The actual owner's manual, I believe, calls for 75/85 or something like that. It's a really weird front diff, like 75/85. I don't know. Like I tried looking for it. It was pretty tough to find, so I just said, to hell with that. I'm going with 75/90. Right, that's a pretty popular gear oil. It's way cheaper too. Like the specialty stuff, it's more money. So it's calling for 1.1 liters in the front diff. It's just a little small diff. So you know, probably grab a liter of that. That would cover you. Moving on down, we're onto the transfer case. Okay, so it's calling for ATF +4. You can use the Mopar brand if you like. I'm using Mobile. I get it at Canadian Tire. It's asking for 1.4 liters. Okay, that's the transfer case. 1.4 liters for that. Moving down, transmission. So this is the big one, right? You know, if you call Chrysler and you ask about a transmission service for this truck, it'll go 2 ways. You'll either get laughed at over the phone because it's lifetime fluid, or you're going to get an insane quote so bad that you're probably never going to want to do it. The reality is, ZF, the manufacturers of this transmission, I believe it's between 80 and 120,000 kilometers. They're saying that's the interval to change the fluid and the filter. And I've sent some emails around. I don't get too crazy with it, but from what I was told from ZF through an email, they don't know why Chrysler is saying lifetime fluid. You know, like the new fluids now are insanely high quality, especially the ZF Lifeguard fluid. It's pretty legendary stuff apparently. But the manufacturer's saying try not to go past 120,000 kilometers on the same oil. So when I tried telling Chrysler that, the one guy laughed at me, and I said, well, you guys better check with the manufacturer, because and then he said, okay, yeah, hey, we'll do it for $2,000 Canadian. And I just went, holy shit. The filter pan is what it's called. The filter's actually built into the pan with the magnets and all that stuff. It's pretty insane from Chrysler. You're looking at about 700 bucks. The fluid, the ZF Lifeguard fluid, is insane per quart. I can't even remember, but it's insane. It's cheaper to drink a really high quality hard liquor than it is to buy that stuff. So I said to hell with that. I did some research. ATP is the manufacturer. It's the B-453. That's the filter pan. And it actually lists as a HP 45, I think it is. It's the smaller horsepower transmission from ZF, but that actual pan fits. It's the exact same dimensions and everything, and it fits our trucks just fine. So the link's in the description from Amazon. And I'm using AMSOIL's Signature Series fluid. Let me just get you some real quick. Yeah, so AMSOIL 100% synthetic automatic transmission fluid Signature Series. Okay, it's the blue bottle here, and it actually has our oil spec or transmission spec on this oil. Is it covered under warranty from Mopar? Absolutely not. The reality is, from what they did tell me about this transmission, they're super reliable. The 3 shops I called around to get quotes from, they all said they've never ever worked on this transmission. So that's a good thing. Like, you know, do you really need to change the fluid based on that? I don't know. For me, when you say lifetime fluid, that just goes, you know, right past me, because it doesn't make any sense. Nothing is lifetime, so it needs to be changed, in my opinion. You can change it here. I can do that. We can do the filter and the oil for 310 bucks Canadian if you go with this setup. Okay, so versus $2,000 from the dealer. So that's enough for the transmission. We'll get into that in the actual video. I've got a link to the AMSOIL and the filter, so pick those up. Okay, part 6 is going to be the fuel filter underneath. It's a kind of a little tricky to not be covered in diesel oil. It's a spin-on filter right next to the exhaust. It's in kind of a tricky spot. There is a what's that website? Gino's Garage. Okay, I'll throw a link down in the description. They make a coupling that goes on the bottom of the filter, and it really helps with screwing the filter off with a socket. Okay, you might want to consider picking that up. If you just bought the truck and you're going to be doing a lot of fuel filter changes yourself, it's sometimes better to invest in that equipment. They also include a water drain plug, because in the bottom of the housing there's actually a plastic from the factory. There's a plastic screw that you unscrewed to kind of drain the housing. The only issue is that the screw, it doesn't work very good. You'll sit there and it'll dribble for an hour, and you'll still have several ounces left in the housing. And then when you go to take the thing off, you're going to be wearing it. So they make a product there, and basically you hammer the cheap plastic drain plug out of the stock housing, and you thread in a brass screw that you can actually fully unthread and drain the housing each time. And then when you remove the housing from the filter, it's just a lot cleaner. So yeah, we'll cover that in the video, like I said. So you want to head over to Rock Auto. I'm using Wix fuel filters. They're only 24 bucks over at Rock Auto. So I just go ahead, I buy about 3 to 6 of them at a time, and I got a stock now, so I'm good for years to come. So $24 over at Rock Auto. Pick that up over there. Moving on to part 7, it's going to be cabin and the truck air filter. Okay, so these trucks from the factory, in terms of a cabin air filter, which you would assume is pretty much mandatory, you're going to be breathing that air in. At least in my truck, I don't know why. It's so insane. There is no cabin air filter. You know, they're typically located in the passenger, on the passenger side in the dash, underneath the compartment, you know, where you put your owner's manual and things like that. And this truck doesn't have it. You know, I was blown away. So basically, you can have a look yourself. Go into the passenger seat, open the compartment up, push the pins in, take the door right off, get a flashlight, and go underneath and have a look in there. You'll see a long rectangular piece of plastic, and it's kind of like rubber. It's a bit softer, and what you actually have to do is take an X-Acto knife and cut the square out, and then you can insert an air filter. So when the air comes through, like basically it just blows up straight through and into the cab. And I don't know about you guys, but if you're on a dirt road or something like that, and you're getting a lot of dirt and debris coming through the engine, and you crank the AC, like I've seen dirt come flying out of the blower, and it's just like, what the hell? So you'll want to put a cabin air filter. Okay, so what I'm using is the K&N VF 2013 cabin air filter. I've got a link on there to Amazon. So once you take your knife and you cut that hole out, you can slide the filter in, and then you can change it every time you change the oil. You know, for some reason they just didn't put one in. I don't know. It makes no sense. So that's what I do with the cabin air filter. Now the truck air filter, I've actually went ahead and removed the stock air box from the engine. I did it because I have I put an oil catch can there. And I just didn't like changing that air filter. Like, they're pretty costly. K&N makes a reusable air filter. You just take it off, you rinse it out, you apply the oil to it, you put it back on. I didn't even go with the K&N. I went with like a Canadian Tire knockoff, basically reusable. You basically just buy it, and once you take your stock air box out of the truck, you got a 3-inch opening for the air inlet, and you just take a couple of worm gears, you just put the filter on and tighten it on, and then you know, Bob's your uncle. And then every time you do your oil change, you can just take that off, rinse it out. It comes with a cleaner, or you can buy a cleaner, which I got a link in the description. Just to, you know, you spray it on, you rinse it out, and then you apply the oil, and it helps catch some of that fine debris. So that's this part 7. That's going to be the air filters and things like that. Now part 8, I'm going to get into MAP sensor cleaning. The Ecodiesel has a manifold absolute pressure sensor that's inside, underneath the windshield, deep in the engine bay. You kind of got to get up into the engine to get it. Basically, the emissions on this truck with the positive crankcase ventilation tubing, all the overpressure from the crankcase, those oily vapors actually get put back into just before the turbocharger, and that's where the MAP sensor sits. So basically those oil vapors cross over the MAP sensor, and they'll basically gum up that sensor, and it can really decrease your fuel efficiency. So it's a good idea every now and then. I don't do it every oil change or anything like that. It's probably every 50 or 60,000 kilometers I'll go in there, I'll take that MAP sensor out, give it a good cleaning, and put it back in. And you will see a little increase in your fuel efficiency by cleaning that. We might get into the EGR cleaning, the diffuser tube. Mine's gone, so I won't be able to show you on my truck, but I got the actual tube still. Some guys take that out and they give it a good cleaning. Reality is, if you have your emissions and you're cleaning that EGR tube every time, it's not doing a whole lot. You know, the minute you turn your engine back on, the EGR circulates the gases again. It's going to get dirtied up. That's just the reality. Some guys have the EGR so bad it's blocking the EGR diffuser tube, and then that's a big issue. So, you know, it's probably a good idea for you to, if you're at say 100,000 kilometers or something like that, to just take the EGR tube out, have a look at it, and then if you're really, really ballsy, have a look at the air intake where the tube goes, and just have a look at all the shit that's in there. Or don't, because you might go and delete your truck right away. So anyways, well, that's part 8, MAP sensor cleaning, EGR cleaning. I might get into some brakes in part 9. I'm pretty sure I need pads on the rear end. So you know, we'll take the tires off, we'll clean and inspect all the brake components. If you got a fairly new truck, I would highly recommend you take all the rotors off, clean everything right away, even though it's new, and put a bunch of put some anti-seize on the back of the rotors, because for me, I didn't do that, and my brakes lasted like 120,000 kilometers because I do a lot of highway. And I'm telling you, man, like even with the torch and a mini sludge, it was tough to get the rotors off. They really seized onto the hubs. So like, if I could do it all again, I would, at 50,000 kilometers or something like that, I would take all the tires off, I'd do a rotate, I'd clean everything, I'd lubricate the back of the brake pads, and I just get everything nice and loose for when you really need to go in there and change them later on. You're not fighting with it. You know, pro tip, don't smash your studs off in the process or you're going to have to replace them, which is kind of a peckerhead. So anyways, if you need new brakes, I got a link in the description there on Amazon. It's 4 rotors, all the pads, it's a complete kit. It looks pretty good. I didn't use this particular one myself, but you know, if you need them, it's there. So yeah, that's going to be you know, 9 or 10 parts from what I can see. Going to include a couple other videos along the way. I just thought I would give you this video. If you're thinking about following me on this service, you can go ahead and pick up all this, all the fluid and the parts you need, and then you have them on hand for when I release the videos. Okay, so yeah, just if you have an ecodiesel, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned. It's going to be a pretty cool video series, I think. Anyways, I've never done anything like this. This is my first time starting a YouTube channel. Yeah, just interested in seeing how it all pans out. Okay, thanks. Have a good day.